There's this invisible threat that can be lurking almost anywhere. A faulty furnace, a car left running in a garage, you name it. It has no smell, no taste, no color. It's carbon monoxide, and it is a master of disguise. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and see exactly how the silent hijacker pulls off its deadly ambush inside our own bodies.
So here's the big question, right? How does a simple little molecule, just one carbon and one oxygen atom, manage to completely sabotage the very system that keeps us alive? Well, to understand the villain, you gotta meet the hero first. Let's dive in and see how our body is supposed to work. Okay, so picture this. Every single cell in your body, from your brain to your big toe, is constantly crying out for oxygen. The molecule that answers that call? That's hemoglobin. It's the unsung hero running the body's entire oxygen highway, and honestly, it's a microscopic marvel of engineering.
Think of hemoglobin like a massive fleet of tiny little delivery trucks packed inside your red blood cells. Each one of these trucks has 4 special seats. Those are the heme groups you're looking at, and they are reserved exclusively for oxygen. They pick up a full load of oxygen in the lungs and then just race through your bloodstream, making deliveries wherever they're needed.
Now, this S-shaped curve might look a little complicated, but it shows just how brilliant hemoglobin's design really is. See this flat part up top? That represents the lungs, where there's tons of oxygen. This shape means hemoglobin grabs onto oxygen and holds on really tight. It doesn't want to lose any cargo prematurely. But then, look down here, where the curve gets super steep. That's your body's tissues, and they're hungry for oxygen. That steep drop-off means hemoglobin can easily unload its precious cargo exactly where it needs to go. It is a perfect system for both pickup and delivery.
So how does hemoglobin know where the busiest neighborhoods are? How does it know where to make the deliveries? Well, it looks for signals. Your hardest working tissues, the ones doing a lot of exercise, they send out a kind of SOS in the form of higher carbon dioxide, more acid, and a higher temperature. Just remember this little mnemonic: Cardet faces right. All those signals tell hemoglobin to loosen its grip and let go of its oxygen. It's an absolutely brilliant system. But as we're about to see, every system has a vulnerability. And this is where our villain, carbon monoxide, or CO, enters the scene. It is the ultimate imposter. To our little hemoglobin delivery trucks, CO looks deceptively similar to an oxygen molecule, so it just sneaks right past security and gets to the loading dock. But this intruder has a very sinister plan. Get ready for this number, because it is absolutely staggering. Hemoglobin's attraction, its affinity for carbon monoxide, is about 210 times stronger than its affinity for oxygen. Let me put that another way. If you're in a room with 210 oxygen molecules and just one carbon monoxide molecule, that single CO molecule has the same chance of grabbing a seat on the hemoglobin truck. This is not a fair fight. It is a super competitor. So in the world of biochemistry, we call CO a competitive inhibitor. All that means is that it competes for the exact same binding sites on hemoglobin that oxygen is trying to get to. It's like a hijacker physically shoving a passenger out of their seat on a bus. Once that seat is taken by CO, oxygen is just left standing at the curb. But just stealing the seats? That's only part 1 of CO's nasty plan. The real damage, the thing that makes it so deadly, the double cross, is what it does to the few oxygen molecules that do manage to get on board. Let's take a look at the evidence of this molecular sabotage. Okay, this graph right here tells the whole story of CO's attack. I want you to notice 2 things are happening. First, the whole curve gets smaller. See how it's pushed down? That means less oxygen can be carried overall. But second, and this is the really sinister part, the entire curve shifts to the left. Let's break down what this 2-pronged attack really means for our bodies. All right, so let's unpack that graph and talk about the 2 devastating problems it represents. Because this isn't just one issue, nope, it's a full-blown oxygen hostage crisis happening on a molecular level. Problem number 1 is pretty straightforward. As those CO molecules start taking over the seats on hemoglobin, there are just fewer spots available for oxygen. That's what that downward shift in the curve was showing us. The blood's total ability to carry oxygen just plummets. The delivery trucks are leaving the station with a bunch of empty seats. But this is the truly insidious part of the attack. Just one CO molecule getting on a hemoglobin truck makes that truck cling way more tightly to any oxygen it is carrying. That's the leftward shift we saw. The hemoglobin becomes so sticky that it refuses to release the oxygen to the tissues that are desperate for it.
So the few oxygen molecules that actually got a seat are now basically being held hostage, unable to get off at their stop. And this all leads to a really dangerous misconception. You would think, right, that a lack of oxygen would cause someone's skin to turn kind of bluish. That's a condition called cyanosis. But with CO poisoning, that's not what happens. The molecule that forms when CO binds to hemoglobin is a bright cherry red color, so it gives the victim's skin this deceptively healthy-looking reddish tint, completely masking the severe oxygen starvation that's happening inside.
So, with our oxygen supply cut off and our entire delivery system hijacked, how in the world do we fight back? How do we launch a rescue mission against an enemy that just will not let go?
Well, the key is understanding the nature of the fight. Since COA is a competitive inhibitor, the whole battle is about numbers. It's a numbers game. And to win, you have to completely flood the zone. The treatment is a direct three-step counterattack. First, and this is obvious, stop the enemy's reinforcements by getting the person away from the CO source immediately. Step 2, overwhelm the hijacker. By giving the person 100% high-concentration oxygen, you just dramatically increase the number of friendly oxygen molecules, making it statistically way more likely for oxygen to grab a seat the second a CO molecule finally lets go. And for step 3, in the most severe cases, you bring in the heavy artillery, hyperbaric oxygen therapy, which uses pressure to literally force even more oxygen into the system to kick the CO off and reclaim the hemoglobin. So when you really think about it, the same elegant system that makes hemoglobin so incredibly good at its job, its amazing ability to change how tightly it holds oxygen, is also its greatest vulnerability. It's just a powerful reminder that in biology, strength and weakness are often two sides of the same coin. And knowing exactly how this silent hijacker works, well, that's our single best defense against it.